Last night you paid $30 for a burrito, and I need you to just sit with how strange that is for a second. Because if you had put on actual pants and walked into that exact same restaurant, that exact same burrito would have cost you about 12. Not 30. 12. So somewhere between your couch and that kitchen, your dinner quietly more than doubled in price. And here's the part that's going to bug you for the rest of the day. Almost nobody in that chain got rich off the extra money. Not the restaurant that cooked it, not the driver who carried it up your stairs, not even the giant app that arranged the whole thing, the one you just assume is swimming in your money. Because for most of its life, that app was quietly losing money. On you. So tonight we're going to do the thing this channel does. We're going to follow your $30 out of your thumb, through the app, and into every single hand it touches. Who's actually winning, who's quietly drowning, and the one player hiding right there in your feed that almost nobody thinks about. Because once you see how this machine really pays out, you are never going to tap that little checkout button the same way again. Let's start where you started. Let's start at the screen. Here's your order laid out, and the very first thing I want you to notice is the burrito itself, because it already lied to you a little. In the restaurant, it's $12. On the app, that same burrito is sitting there at $14, maybe $15. The menu got more expensive just by opening the app. Hold on to that clue, it matters more than you think, and we'll come back for it. Then, under the food, the fees start stacking up like a toll booth that keeps inventing new lanes. There's a delivery fee. There's a separate service fee. If your order was a little small, there's a small order fee, which is, and I love this, a fee for not spending enough money. Then the taxes. And then at the very bottom, the tip. $14 burrito. $30 total. Same food, same kitchen, roughly $16 extra of something. So let's go find out whose pocket each piece falls into. First stop, the restaurant. Let's call the owner Maria because somewhere there's a real Maria doing this math at midnight. When your order pings her kitchen, Maria does not get your $30. She doesn't even get the 14. Before she's scooped a single bean, the app reaches in and takes a cut of that food total, a commission. And that cut is not small. Depending on the plan she signed up for, DoorDash takes 15% of the food, or 25%, or even a full 30%. 30%. Imagine working all day and before you're allowed to keep a dime, a partner you never see takes a third of everything, right off the top. Now remember that clue, the burrito that grew from $12 to $14, the second you open the app? This is why. That's not a coincidence, and it's not the app's price. That's Maria, quietly raising her own menu on the app to try to cover the very cut the app is taking from her. Restaurants do this all over the country, marking their delivery menus up by around 20%, just to survive the commission. So here's the first quietly insane thing you've learned tonight. You are paying extra for the food. To help the restaurant pay the fee that the app charges the restaurant, the toll gets passed straight back to you wearing a disguise. And you think, okay, fine. 30% is brutal, but the restaurant still keeps most of it, right? Here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. Once you add up that commission, plus the card processing fee, plus the little marketing promos she runs so anyone can even find her, plus the cost of remaking the order some guy swears never arrived. By some honest tallies, a normal restaurant can actually lose money on a delivery order. Read that again. There are orders where Maria would have been better off if you'd never tapped her restaurant at all. So why on earth does she stay on the app? Because you're on the app. Being invisible to a phone full of hungry people feels scarier than the fee. So she grits her teeth and pays the toll to stand in a room she used to own. That's not a partnership. That's rent. Okay, so the restaurant is barely hanging on. Then surely the driver, the actual human who got in an actual car and brought this to your actual door, surely that person is who all those delivery fees are for. Right? Meet the driver. Let's call him Sam. And Sam is about to teach you the single most misunderstood thing in this entire business. You paid a delivery fee. You paid a service fee. And your very reasonable brain assumes those words mean the money for the guy delivering. They do not. On most orders, those fees don't go to Sam at all, they go to the app. Sam gets paid on a totally separate ticket, a base pay from DoorDash that can start as low as around $2 an order, plus whatever you decide to tip. And here's the one genuinely clean, honest number in this whole story. 100% of your tip goes to Sam. Every cent. DoorDash doesn't skim it, which means something a little brutal if you sit with it. That tip line you kind of resent, the one that pops up begging for money after you already paid a delivery fee and a service fee, that tip isn't the cherry on top of Sam's pay. For a lot of orders, that tip basically is Sam's pay. The $2 base plus your $5 tip is the $7 he's actually working for. So when you skip the tip because you already paid for delivery, you didn't stick it to the app. The app already got its fees. The only person you shorted was Sam. Sam, by the way, is not getting rich either. Across hundreds of thousands of real drivers, the typical take works out to something like $11, $12 an hour before you even count gas and the slow murder of his own car's brakes and tires. He's not the villain. He's the one running your dinner up 3 flights of stairs for the price of a tip. So, let's tally up the sad little scoreboard. The restaurant's barely breaking even, sometimes losing. The driver's clearing pocket change per trip. 2 hands in the chain, and neither one is rich. So all that extra money, all those fees, they must be landing in one obvious place. The giant app itself, printing cash off your laziness. That's the reasonable guess. It is also, for most of this company's life, completely wrong. Here is the twist that breaks most people's brains. DoorDash, the 800-pound gorilla, the app on more than 50 million phones a month, spent almost its entire existence losing money, not a little. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and in 1 year more than $1 billion, piling up into billions of dollars of losses since it began. The company that squeezes Maria and underpays Sam and nickel and dimes you with a fee for not spending enough, that company could not, for over a decade, turn your $30 burrito into an actual profit. In fact, DoorDash only posted its first full year of profit in all of 2024. And even then it was around $120 million on more than $10 billion in revenue. Translate that. After everything, out of every dollar they took in, they kept barely a single penny of profit. 10 years of squeezing, just to keep a penny on the dollar. So where did all the money go? Because it clearly didn't pile up in a vault. Here's the answer, and it's the whole secret of the episode. That delivery fee you paid isn't paying for your delivery. It's paying for the machine that makes any delivery possible at all. Think about what has to happen in the 90 seconds after you tap. An invisible system has to instantly find a free driver near that specific restaurant, predict how long the food will take so it doesn't sit and get cold, route Sam through traffic, handle the refund when the order's wrong, run the app that didn't crash, and pay for the ads that got you to open it in the first place. You didn't buy a burrito delivery. You rented for about 10 minutes a slice of one of the most expensive logistics networks ever built that just happens to move guacamole instead of packages. And that reframes the entire thing. You think DoorDash is a food company? It is not a food company. It has never cooked a single meal. It's a logistics company, a coordination machine, wearing a food company's apron. The restaurants make the food. The drivers move the food. DoorDash's actual product is the matching, the ability to stand in the exact middle between millions of hungry people and thousands of kitchens and thousands of drivers, and connect the right 3 in real time. That is a genuinely hard, genuinely valuable thing to build. It's also a monstrously expensive one, which is exactly why it bled money for 10 years. But hold on, because if the delivery barely makes money and the company only just squeaked into profit, then how is DoorDash suddenly worth a fortune? What changed? This is the player hiding in your feed, the one nobody thinks about. Scroll your app right now, in your head. See how some restaurants sit right at the top, with a neat little sponsored tag? Those restaurants paid to be there. DoorDash quietly built an advertising business, selling premium real estate at the top of your hungry, scrolling thumb. And it is exploding, growing something like 70% in a single year. And here's why Wall Street cares so much more about that than your burrito. Showing you an ad costs DoorDash almost nothing. There's no kitchen, no car, no cold food risk. It's nearly pure profit. So the real business isn't carrying your dinner across town for a dime. The real business is charging Maria, again, a second time, just to be seen by you, right after it already took 30% of her food. And now the whole machine finally snaps into focus, so let me give you its real name, because economists have studied this exact creature for years. What DoorDash is a two-sided marketplace. A platform stuck in the middle of two crowds who each need the other, diners on one side, restaurants and drivers on the other, and the platform's whole job is to keep both sides showing up. But that's a trap, because the two sides want opposite things. You want low fees. The driver wants high pay. The restaurant wants a low commission. Everyone's pulling money out of the same order at once. So for years, the platform just ate the difference. It kept your fees low enough that you'd keep ordering, and paid drivers enough that they'd keep driving, and lost billions holding the whole thing together, betting that once it got big enough, once it was a habit, once it owned your Friday night, it could finally tilt the board a few cents toward itself. The slice it finally takes, that thin cut of every order, has a name too. They call it the take rate. And the entire 10-year, multi-billion-dollar bet was simply to earn the right to take it. Now, I already know the top comment because it's what I said the first time I saw all this. Or, hear me out, you could just go pick it up yourself. And you're right, you could. Pickup skips the commission, skips the delivery fee, skips most of the pain for both you and Maria. But let's be honest about what you're actually buying when you don't. You're not really buying a burrito. You're buying 30 minutes of your one and only life back, a human being and their car turned into a service, so you don't have to move. That's not a scam. That is a real thing with a real cost. A person drove across town for you. The only crime here isn't that convenience costs money. It's that the price was chopped into 5 confusing little pieces, so you'd never quite feel the size of it all at once. Because that's the trick, and once you see it, it's everywhere. This pattern, a platform planting itself in the middle of two groups and taking a cut for the introduction, is the defining business of your entire lifetime. It's Uber, sitting between you and a driver. It's Airbnb, between you and someone's spare room, taking a bite from both of you. It's the App Store taking 30 cents of every dollar, the same magic number as Maria's commission. It's the ticket app, the grocery delivery app, the freelance work site. None of them make the thing. All of them stand in the doorway. And if you've been with me a while, you already know their grandparent, the classic version of a company losing money on one thing to win on another. That Costco hot dog, $1.50 forever, bleeding money on purpose so you keep paying for the membership. Same family of trick. New costume. The middleman is the whole business now. Once you can see the doorway, you'll spot someone standing in it everywhere you look. So, here's where your $30 actually went. All of it, at last. About $14 for a burrito that cost $12. The gap quietly covering a fee you never saw. A cut off the top to a restaurant that might still lose money on you. A base pay plus your tip to a driver clearing pocket change. A pile of fees to a logistics machine so expensive it lost money for a decade learning to run it. And the only truly fat, happy dollar in the whole chain? The one Maria paid a second time, just to appear at the top of your screen. You didn't buy dinner. You hired a private courier and rented 10 minutes of a giant machine. And the machine's real profit was quietly waiting one line above the food, wearing a little gray tag that said, "Sponsored." If following the money like this rewired something in your head, good. That's the entire mission of this channel. I take the ordinary stuff you buy on autopilot, the burrito, the movie ticket, the coffee, and I pull the machine out into the light so you can finally see who's really getting paid. In plain English, no lecture, no jargon. Every week we pick another price tag and we follow the money. So if you want to know where your money actually goes next, subscribe and come along. It honestly helps more than you think, and it tells me you want more of these. Thanks for spending a little of your evening with me, and I'll see you at the next price tag.